here's the clay that you guys are working with. This is a red clay. It came to you in sort of a brick-like shape. And the first step that we're going to take in making our flower pot is we're going to mold this into a ball. Once you've got your clay into a sphere, you're going to take one of your thumbs, shove it down into the middle of your sphere. And this hole is going to become this hole. What we're making is called a pinch pot. And the reason why it's called a pinch pot is because once you have this hole, you're going to shove your finger down into it again, and you're going to use your hand like this on the outside, like a lobster claw. You ready? And what we're aiming for is walls that are just about the thickness of a pencil. Take a look. All right, so we're going to keep pinching the walls of your pot over and over again until you have a consistent thickness. You can use one hand or you can use two hands at the same time. Now it's starting to look a lot like a pot. But right now, things are looking a little bit lumpy, right? So this is where you can start to use your wooden spoon. You're going to hold your pot in one hand, probably your non-dominant hand. I'm left-handed, so I'm going to use my right hand, and I'm going to hold the wall on the inside of my pot, and I'm going to gently tap the outside. You can even rest it on the board that you're working on to keep it supported so the walls don't rip. And you're going to lightly tap. Tap, tap. This is making your walls a little bit more consistent in their thickness, and it's smoothing out some of the cracks that are on the outside of the wall, of the pot. Now you can see my pot is kind of going out like a bowl a little bit. And if that's a shape that you like, go with that. If you would like your pot to be a little bit more curved in, I'll show you how to do that. To have a shoulder to it, I'll show you what a shoulder is. So what you can do is, using one of your hands, brace the outside of your pot and press the inside to start to give it a rounded edge or top, or what we would call a shoulder in pottery. You go around and around. Now you can see that instead of a bowl shape that flares out, my pot now has a slightly curved top to it. That means it goes up like this and around. This would be called its shoulder, right? So it's a different shape that you can make. You can decide as you're doing this what shape you'd like your pot to take. Now, right now, you can see inside, it's still a little lumpy. There's a lot of my fingerprints inside because the clay is very soft. Now, to smooth those out, I think the best way to do it is with your fingers. So I'm going to start with the walls, and I'm going to start smoothing the walls with my fingers, but I'm also going to start moving downwards to the bottom of the pot to smooth out some of those fingerprints. Now you don't want to drag your hands too hard into the clay, because soft clay can it moves around pretty easily. So you want to drag your fingertips lightly over the surface to get rid of those surface prints and cracks. But if you're finding that that doesn't work to your satisfaction, grab your spoon and using the curved edge or curved side of your spoon, go on the inside of your pot and start smoothing out some of those lines this way. Now, I'm pretty happy with that shape. And one thing that we do have to remember is if we were making a bowl for our cereal, we wouldn't really need this. We can leave it as is, but since we're making a flower pots generally have a drainage hole in the bottom of them. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this side of your pencil, not your sharp side, but your eraser side of your pencil. And I want you to hold your pot in your hand. And I want you to drill a single hole using the butt side of the pencil right into the center. Okay. There's a little plug of clay that comes out of the bottom there. See that? And then I'm going to have you carefully flip it over. I'm going to have you do it on this side again. Now this is something that you have to do pretty gently. You can drill it by twisting the pencil like this, because if you are too rough with it, your bottom of your pot is going to collapse or lose its shape. Alright, so you can see now I have a hole in the model. And so when you have a plant in there and you start watering it, the plant's water can drain out of it and not let mold or mildew start to grow on your the roots of your flower. Alright, so this is the basic gist of the shape that you're going to end up with. And now it's sort of up to you how smooth you would like your outside to be. And like I said, you know, you can use your fingers. It's my favorite way of smoothing wet clay, soft clay. You can see how that is working and getting rid of a lot of the lines. Or if you don't want a smooth flower pot, you have the option at this point of thinking about ways that you might want to decorate your pot. One way you can decorate it is by the shape of the rim, right? If you would like to pinch in the rim a little bit, bring it in and have it show your fingerprints. I think it's really cool when pottery has the fingerprints of the artist on it. So it can look like that, right? Makes the edge a little bit scalloped. Or you can take your fingerprints or fingers and give it a little bit of a crust, like a pie, right? By alternating in and out. So you've got a slightly wavy edge there. Or another way to decorate your pot beyond or besides the edge is by taking a tool. For us, we can use our spoon. I'm going to flip it upside down for this. I'm going to show you. You can use this side, the back side of your spoon, and start making a design. See what that looks like. Well, it's just using a spoon, plain old spoon from your house. The example that I showed you in the beginning, this clay is completely dry. It's what we call bone dry. It means it's been air dried. So this is the color that your clay is going to look as soon as the moisture is completely gone from it. You can see in this vessel, or in this pot, there's some lines, texture on the outside, and that texture was made simply by holding the pot in your hand and dragging your spoon in lines across the clay or up the clay. And you can do that in vertical lines, you can do it in horizontal lines. I chose vertical lines on this, and you can see that that makes a texture or a pattern that'll look really nice once the piece is fired. All right, and so the last thing I'm going to show you that you need to do that's important whenever you make any art is making sure that your name gets on it, because you're the artist, right? So my name is Jordan. I'm going to write my name in pencil. I'm dragging the pencil across the bottom of the clay. I'm going to include my first name and my last initial, so that once these get turned in and I can fire them in the kiln, I'll know who they go back to. But then also we'll want to remember that you made this flower pot in 2020 in your very first, probably, virtual distance learning experience, that you made this during quarantine. All right, so we'll want to remember that later. All right, so at this point, once you have this shape and a hole and your name, a year, you can make your pot look however you want it to. The only parameters or sort of limitations that you have are making sure that your walls are about this thickness, okay? And that also includes the bottom wall, right? So we've talked about pinching the walls along the side, but the bottom wall, the base of your pot, also needs to be about the thickness of a pencil. All right. And you may notice that the texture and ease of using your clay changes as the clay dries. So maybe you work on this with your class, and then the next day you go back to it and you say, maybe I'd like to smooth out a little bit more, or maybe I'd like to add a little bit more texture now that it's a little more dry. Okay? And that's about it, guys. You're well on your way to making a flower pot. And you also know how to make a general vessel by using the pinch pot method. All right? Have fun. See ya.